These days, it can be hard to trust the media. What's true, what's fake, and who is behind the message? I'm a freelance journalist and videographer who has spent years studying the media. Now I'm taking a look at what local, regional, and national news stories mean to us here in North Central Washington. I'm Dominick Bonny, and this is Common Sense. Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Common Sense. I'm Dominick Bonny, and today we're going to head up to Lake Wenatchee with 2022 Regional Teacher of the Year, Tina Nicpan Brown, and learn about the winter STEM camp she organized for her students. They recently wrapped up the third STEM camp at Wenatchee Valley YMCA Camp at Lake Wenatchee, and the students learned about fire science, avalanche control, geography, Native American history, owl pellets, and more. It's an incredible and unique experience these students were lucky to have. And the reasons they got the opportunity is twofold: Tina's tenacity, drive, and organizational capacity, and the generous support of local businesses and individuals. This STEM camp, which gets young learners outdoors and camping in the wintertime, wouldn't be possible without the support of organizations like the Wenatchee Valley YMCA, the Chelan County PUD, the Leavenworth National Fish Hatchery, the Wenatchee Art Education Consortium, Cafe Columbia, South at Pybus, Wenatchee Valley Brewing Company, and many more generous individuals who made private donations. I met up with Tina and a few of the folks who participated in this year's camp recently and interviewed them at Westside High School in Wenatchee. But before we head to winter camp at Lake Wenatchee, let's talk briefly about another winter campout happening right now in Russia. I'm sure that by now you've heard about Russian autocrat Vladimir Putin's troops have been massing on the border with Ukraine, threatening to invade the sovereign nation if it joins the NATO alliance. Putin, the closest thing we have to a real-life James Bond villain, pines for the glory days of a powerful Russia under the old imperial system or Soviet Union, both of which are remembered for their less than stellar track records on things like human rights and personal freedoms. Back in the Cold War, when Putin was an up-and-coming KGB spy, countries like the Ukraine, Yugoslavia, and Romania were under the Russian sphere of influence, or behind the Iron Curtain, as I'm sure some folks out there will remember. Putin wants that sphere of influence back, and every former Russian satellite state that joins NATO is a reminder that Russia's glory days are long past. So he reacts like any gangster would react. He threatens and bullies. Business Insider, which is far from being a liberal media outlet, put it this way, quote, "For Putin, the peeling away of countries from Russia towards NATO comes as both an existential threat and a personal insult. As a former agent in the KGB and an avowed nationalist, Putin has dreams of resurrecting the glories of an imperial Russia, a goal that is seriously hampered by the inclusion of what Putin would deem rightful Russian lands, such as the Baltics, into the NATO alliance," end quote. So Putin has painted himself into a bit of a corner, because if he follows through on his threat and invades, he will most likely be met with force, and Ukraine will become a NATO partner. If he doesn't, he looks weak, and most likely the Ukraine will become a NATO partner. This is the problem with autocracies and dictatorships. Not a lot of quality control in the ideas department, because everyone is too afraid to say, "Boss, this doesn't seem like such a hot idea." But let's leave the poor Russians to their frozen campout at the behest of King Kleptocrat Vladimir No Shirt Putin, and head now to Westside High School in Wenatchee and learn more about a productive and peaceful, well, mostly there was an epic snowball fight, winter camp at Lake Wenatchee. So, Tina, go ahead and maybe just kind of walk me through your scatterplot here.
Sure. Yeah, this is what I call with my students a brain vomit, right? What goes on in my head, get it all out on paper. So winter STEM camp, this is the third year we went, and every year I make changes to it based on feedback I get from families and students especially. But my main goal is to focus on adaptations. That is a science standard that goes across K-12. And so looking at adaptations, this year we looked at how adaptations affect fire ecology, geography, careers, safety helmets, forms of energy, snow science, and animals. Then focusing from there, I branch off. So with animals, we brought in snowshoes to show how we learned as humans how to adapt from animals with snowshoes and specific clothing we wear. In fire ecology, we discussed the two triangles, one, what makes a fire, and then the behavior of it. In geography, my main focus was on Native Americans and how they use this land, which brought me to legends. That legend that we learned was the Owl Sisters, which then brought us down to observation skills with owl pellets. We created Native American influenced drums with leather materials and played those while we read legends around a fire wearing owl masks that we created. And then moving over to careers, what are the careers that, again, falling back into adaptations? So we had wildland firefighters, flight paramedics, avalanche technicians, and engineers join us. Safety helmets is a huge adaptation for kids, especially those who ski and snowboard. So we look at all different types of helmets, and then they actually have to create one. That's probably one of the kids' favorites. We put their helmet on a styrofoam head. That styrofoam head has a raw egg taped to it, and we drop it from the second story of the lodge and then score their safety helmet. But then with safety helmets also comes first aid. So we also made first aid kits that students could take home when they're hiking or have in their car. Another adaptation is we had to learn how to adapt to living within the snow. And so then we learned about how avalanches are determined and how structures can support you and animals regarding temperatures. So I start at that level and I start branching out. I'm thinking science, I'm thinking math, I'm thinking those ELA, I'm thinking art. And then in my brain, as I'm going through all these, I'm thinking, okay, I got those audio learners, those visual learners, I got to get hands-on stuff going. And so how do I get all of this to be successful is with just two basic things. One is every kid has a journal. And that's important because a field experience like Winter STEM Camp is just learning in another place. It's not a trip, it's not a vacation. So we're documenting like scientists all the time. And we have expectations, and there's only 3. Safety, have good manners, and be curious. Those are the only 3 expectations I have for camp. And so this all happened in 3 days and in 2 nights. And then we also fit in those social aspects. So with our snow structures later at night, we're having snowball fights. During our Native American legend and drumming, we also had students for the first time roasting a marshmallow. A lot of first time marshmallow roasters. When we were looking at over here talking about careers, we fit in a snack and did a little chemistry and made some snow ice cream to enjoy that evening. So a lot of social goes into this. But when I'm thinking in the perspective of an educator and how can I bring real life place-based experience to my kids, I start with that one main science topic. And in this case, it's all about adaptations.
Very interesting. And so you said you had a representative or somebody who does each one of those jobs join you?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Majority of the lessons that are designed are not taught by me. So for example, the snow science and fire ecology, I asked the assistants with Cascadia, sent out 2 amazing individuals to share their knowledge with us. The snowshoes were a possibility because of the Leavenworth Fish Hatchery donated the snowshoes for us to use as well as their snow science kits. We had for first aid, we had a flight paramedic join us, show us the equipment he uses, talk about the engineering of the helicopter and what he considered appropriate for a first aid kit. Wildland firefighters came and spoke to us about how to put out wildfires and how they occur just as frequently in the winter as they do in the summer, and a lot of that has to do with the snowpack. So that's why we had an avalanche technician come in and speak with us. For my Native American connections, I did a lot of work with the Colville Reservation, as well as Mary Big Bull in town. The forms of energy presentation actually was done by Bob Bauer with the PUD. He came out and tailored the forms of energy so that they made sense to what we learned in snow science, to what we learned about animal adaptations as well. So definitely a community, set up program that I am so thrilled that I have community members willing to work with me. We also had in this art area a local artist, Martha Flores, joined us over Zoom, and she painted with kids and talked about the habitats and adaptations that birds have in our environment. So they even went home with a piece on canvas.
So did you learn how to make snowballs really well, or snow forts? What are some of the projects that you worked on?
No, we got to build a snow fort, which took everybody 2 hours. And then everybody just made their own snowballs, and basically the lesson here was don't surrender and don't be a big baby.
What about the tools that you got to use?
We got to use a shovel and a little ice cutter thing that could probably kill somebody.
Oh, wow. Oh, so this all sounds very dangerous.
A little bit. At least we had adult supervision.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. And what are, other than your teacher, who are some of the other people who helped make this possible?
Dang it, I forgot his name, but the camp director and all the people who donated.
Very, very good. A little marker
I don't know who else.
In the making. How about inside? What are some of the things you got up to inside?
We gotta eat, of course, and we also gotta make owl mask and drums.
Wow. So you made your own drum?
Yeah.
And can you play it? Did you get to take it home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Miss Brown brought some sticks to play with. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. So this was a 3-day camp, and you spent the night up there at the YWCA. Have you ever been to the YWCA or the YMCA camp before? No? You think you want to go back?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you want the community to know about the STEM camp and your experience?
Yeah. Make sure that you don't go with a snorer. Just with all your might, try not to go with a snorer. That's all I'm gonna say.
So somebody was snoring in your cabin?
Yes.
Was it your dad?
Yes.
Yes.
We called him literally the snorer.
Really?
That's his nickname.
Did he keep everybody up?
A little bit. He kept everybody up like another 30 minutes.
I see. Well, I'm sure he's gonna love this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned after the break for more.
Are you looking at buying your first home or additional homes, perhaps an investment property or refinancing? Let the local Caliber home loan experts help guide you every step of the way with 2 convenient locations to serve you in Wenatchee and Chelan. Give us a call today.
Brian's Pizza and Bowling is changing their name to That Pizza Place. Now there's still your same favorite locally owned family pizza and bowling center, That Pizza Place. Come hang out in downtown Cashmere.
My job is to educate my client, help them navigate a system that is difficult and complicated. It is my job to tell their story and to convince either a court, a judge, or 12 jurors of the appropriateness of our request. It's the great leveler. It's the only leveler, because the least powerful can gain the remedy they deserve that the law provides for them.
Your Way in East Wenatchee has new local owners. Need a mailbox with a physical address? Mail It Your Way has them in a variety of sizes. Postal Service and FedEx shipping, packaging, printing. Stop by Mail It Your Way in East Wenatchee on Grant Road next to Glaze.
Connect with us on Networked as we introduce you to the people and organizations who are leading innovation in the region. Get inspired, engaged, and networked right here on the NCWLIFE channel.
Welcome back. Let's get back to my interviews with 2022 Regional Teacher of the Year, Tina Nicpan Brown, and her students about the winter STEM camp at the YMCA's Lake Wenatchee Camp recently.
I decided to be a chaperone because my kid asked me to, and my wife wouldn't let me say no. So, no, don't put that in. Please don't put that in. I'll get in a lot of trouble. No, because my kid wanted me to.
And what were some of your biggest takeaways?
There were a lot of takeaways. Trying to name one that's the biggest is kind of difficult. I think that the most important aspect for my kid anyways is he is somebody that is in Wenatchee Internet Academy, and during COVID it's been really difficult without a lot of the social connection. And so that was a really huge opportunity for him to get to know some other kids and some friends that he's even kept now after camp's over and is in contact with at the moment. Hopefully we'll go up skiing with, or he can hang out and play games with, or whatever. But I think that's the biggest thing for him.
Yeah, since these kids are all Internet Academy students, did you think it was more of a challenge to have a bunch of them together since they're not usually together? Was it easier? What was your, as a adult supervisor, what was that like?
Well, I got the impression that some of them knew each other ahead of time, and they weren't all Internet Academy students, but a good portion of them were. No, I don't think it was harder or easier than my, frame of reference isn't great. That's the most kids I've ever spent that amount of time with in my life, and so I definitely felt out of my comfort zone a good amount of the time. But yeah.
Did you learn anything?
Oh God, yeah.
Like what?
I learned an awful lot. How much energy 11, 12, and 13-year-olds really have. I thought that my kid had a lot of energy, and my frame of reference for that has grown dramatically. Yeah, I'm lucky. Yeah. I'm really lucky, yeah.
So how did it work? Was there like one chaperone or two chaperones per cabin?
So there were 13 kids that went. There were 3 groups of 3 boys and 1 group of 4 girls. So 2 educators, the Regional Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Tina Brown, and Mr. Geld were the 2 teacher chaperones, and then there were 2 of us that aren't teachers that went along as well. Damien's dad being the other one. So we had 3 male chaperones in the guys' cabin, 3 kids to each chaperone.
See, and what was it like watching these educators in action?
I have a lot of appreciation for educators. I did before, and I do even more so now. I mean, it's through COVID, I've had both of my kids at home, and 2 is a lot for me. I don't know how you deal with 13 or 23 or 34, or especially with overcrowding and everything that's been going on in schools. Teachers really have gotten the short end of the stick for a long time, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am as a parent for everything that they do.
What were some of the biggest things, I guess, highlights for you of the winter STEM camp?
One of my favorite things was building the snow forts and throwing snowballs at other people, because at my school and a lot of schools we are not allowed to throw snowballs. Yeah. So that was new for me. And we had 2 hours, it may have been 2.5, I think it was 2 hours, that we got to build our fort, and there was a lot of creative ideas. So we all built forts, and then we went inside, did an activity, and then came back out, and later at night. We put tea lights on them so they were visible, and then we just went crazy.
And that's when you guys had the snowball fight?
Yeah.
Wow, and how long did that go on?
It was about 30 minutes to an hour.
Were you tired afterwards?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were. There was a couple of people that got hit in the face. Not a lot. Yeah. But yeah.
But no injuries?
No injuries.
Yeah, that's good. What was it like, to have the opportunity to just kind of, especially in the wintertime like this, get outdoors with your friends, socialize, What was that like for you?
It was really cool because in the cabin we did have to wear masks, but we got a lot of time where we didn't have to wear masks and got to see people in person and seeing people that were in WIA and in different classes. And me and one of my friends came from Washington, but seeing all of each other and then doing all different kind of things, thinking what we would do if we were actually in the classroom right now, and then going to bed and then thinking again. It was really cool.
Yeah. So you were excited when you were going to bed. You were excited for the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's something that you learned that maybe you didn't know before?
I learned a lot about electricity when it was more the end of the day, but we were learning a lot about electricity, and I learned a lot about it. Like how electricity is moved from the water to homes, to lights, to stoves, to everything. And then how much our parents have to pay for electricity. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you for other kids, maybe who didn't get this opportunity, or for parents who maybe have never, when they were in school, never got to do something like this, what do you want them to know?
If they were still kids and wanted to try it, I really recommend it. It was really fun, and I hope we do it again. But it was super fun, and being out in the snow with friends and sleeping late-ish, staying up. Yeah, that was really fun.
So you're talking, really, you kind of mentioned some of what I would almost call the spokes of this wheel, but the center of the wheel is really you. You set this whole thing up. You use your own connections with all of these different individuals to put this whole thing together. How did that start? You said it's in your third year, so where did it come from? It was you were sitting around and you thought, I don't have enough work to do, or where did it come from?
It is my preferred style of teaching. I believe students need to be in the environment and with the experts to do the learning. I consider myself a facilitator of learning. I don't know it all. After all, I've been in 5th grade for 13 years. But what I do know is when I myself am being curious about something and traveling, the first thing I think of is how can I get my students here? Winter STEM Camp actually happened about 6 years ago when I wanted to bring students to the Wenatchee River Institute. They had just secured snowshoes, and I thought, this is awesome, let's get them there. With lots of grant writing and a lot of arm twisting and promises for the district, as well as even making sure I had an ambulance. But I got permission to take out students at that time to snowshoe around the property there. And then my motto is always, well, let's go bigger. So what is missing from this piece? And I realized, well, sure, I can talk about adaptations and I can help them put on snowshoes, but I don't know the science involved around the environment. So that's when I started looking up local agencies that could help me and just straight out asked them. So now the one day out to WRI turned into one day out there, but a half a day of people coming into my classroom. Last year, we unfortunately didn't get to do STEM Camp. So in 2019 was the first year I went, and I took 40 students from Lincoln Elementary. And that was when I thought, okay, this is big. We're gonna get kids out there for 3 days and 2 nights. And people said to me, well, Tina, how are you gonna convince parents to let you take their kids in January? Yeah. And I said, well, I don't know, but I know if I don't ask, then I won't be able to provide an opportunity. And I learned based on relationship building, both with the community and with families. 30 families said go. The year after that, I ended up with 80. And so it is something that I know students are craving. They want to get out, especially elementary students. They don't have enough time to apply what they're learning. And what better way to apply what you're learning than getting out there in the environment, not just watching a YouTube video or doing one experiment. That's the start of it. Winter STEM Camp is the application part of it.
Absolutely. And so ballpark, what does it cost and how is it funded?
Winter STEM Camp this year was 100% funded by grants that I received or by community donation. We did ask families to contribute a portion towards the busing. I have to say, busing costs always kill me in experiences like this. That being said, we also had families who paid for a scholarship for students who couldn't go this year. But the main grant came from an organization that focuses on outdoor education for kids. And they provided me $75 a day per kid and $50 for busing. I brought that amount to the camp director and he matched it. And so for that amount of money per student, I was able to get the facility with food and the busing covered for the trip. Material costs, because these lessons do need some materials. Those came from private donations. We had a couple of donors who donated $200 and $400 to use specifically for this experience. Organizations like Cascadia coming out, their time is donated as well. Same thing with the PUD and Bob Bauer. His time is all by donation. I did have the opportunity this year where I reached out to a few local businesses. So Cafe Columbia South at Pybus, as well as Wenatchee Valley Brewing Company, all donated gift cards so that I could give those to our volunteers, especially those who stayed with students in cabins for the 2 nights, as a way of thanking them, because again, their time was also donated.
Yeah, wow. The whole community kind of comes together for this.
Absolutely.
What do you hope, for the future of the STEM camp? You said, I'm always looking to go bigger, so what's the future look like?
Well, I'm already looking at May. I'm looking at, okay, I can run a winter STEM camp. I have community that is dedicated to it, down to purchasing snow gear for children who don't have it. So I'm already thinking, what about a spring STEM camp? What about tying in astrology, tying in habitats, things that, sure, I could do in winter, but why? Why not just offer another experience? My hope is this experience is something that I have put together on my own time with my own passion by finding funds and support on my own. My hope is that the Wenatchee School District will have a time where they can spend some hours looking at how can we fund this so more kids get the opportunity to do this? How can we start looking at giving elementary students more experiences outside of the classroom? We're doing a phenomenal job at the high school level in this district. We're doing a great job now with CTE at the middle level. It's time when things kind of slow down that we really start taking a serious look at how we can support our elementary students. There's educators out there that want to do it, but they need the support of the district to do so.
I'd like to thank Ms. Tina Nicpan Brown for her dedication to her vocation. It's awesome to see folks like Tina who are so passionate about their work. It's invigorating to an entire community. I'd also like to thank all the businesses, organizations, and individuals who help make this STEM camp a possibility. Join me next week for an interview with Shiloh Burgess about what she learned and accomplished during her time at the helm of the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. That's next time on Common Sense.
I'm here at the Discovery Center at Rocky Reach Dam, where there's a ton of cool stuff to do. You can learn how the dam harnesses the power of the Columbia, walk inside a Native American Tule Lodge, and steer clear of disaster on the Rock Island Rapids. You can check out the new fish viewing space and even stare a salmon right in the eye. Explore all this and more at Chelan County PUD's brand new Discovery Center at Rocky Reach Dam, now open year-round.